And welcome back to another Souls Day episode. Oh yeah, this is episode number 4, if I'm correct, and yeah, I guess things are going well. After the fight with the Taurus demon, I just decided to come back to the Undead Berg to farm a little bit more, as I'd wanted to get my stats high enough to use this Wirehander, but sadly I'm not yet there. But yeah, I was just getting myself positioned to face off with the Drake on top of the bridge. Yeah, and by the top of Firelink altar. And generally, you'd like to use this place to get the Drake sword much easier if you have the gold pine resin. The reason I'd wanted the Drake sword, I know, I'm a real big fan of the longsword moveset, and it's really powerful against the gargoyles. It's really good. You don't even need to summon the any help from Solaire or any other friends to co-op with you if you have the Drake sword, I believe, as I had only previously played this game offline and I didn't have the luxury of summoning other players for help. But I think I'll do it this time, just, to add some variety to the videos and not just me playing the game by myself, see what other people do. But generally, you'd like to just stand here by the corner of the bridge until the Drake decides to come down. When you do, you need a vertical swinging weapon, and you go in onto the tail, go to town on it. 2 swings with the gold pine resin should do. I usually use the Morning Star as it's my most reliable way of getting the Drake, as the moveset's really good, the timing of the swings is really good, and I don't know, I just like the Morning Star for doing this with the gold pine resin, sorry. And yeah, generally when you do that, you'd like to swing over to the right and try dodge any incoming fire it could be breathing your way, and quickly make it to the bonfire. And when you do sit at the bonfire, it should just fly away, everything should be fine. Now you're free to pick up the items you had left behind on the bridge and fend off against these undead soldiers here. But besides that, now you can do pretty much as you please on the bridge until the dragon flies back, because it does fly back at random times. If whether you're on the bridge or not doesn't really matter. But generally, that's pretty much to it. The Drake sword, really good early game weapon, really good at early levels. I dare say it's one of the best early game weapons, as the strength requirement is like 16 strength and 10 dex. It's not really much. You can, unless maybe you started off with a caster build or a cleric, then you might be struggling to meet those requirements, but I think you'll be able to two-hand it though. And it doesn't scale with any of your stats. Starts off with a good base damage of 200, and yeah, in the early game I dare say it trumps all weapons in the early game. And yeah, but sadly caps off because of its lack of scaling, and even though there are other weapons that don't scale, if you upgrade the Drake swords with dragon scales, I don't think it really does that much damage. It's got a cool special effect though when you two-hand it, and I don't know, maybe I'll experiment more with it and find its purpose, whether the purpose is just for it being a good early game weapon, or maybe there's something else it could be used for. But generally most people frown on the Drake sword and generally don't like it at all. But besides that, just gonna pop a few soul items I've been collecting in the Undead Berg when I sadly wasn't recording. I did a run just to pick up some items there, and some other soul items I picked up in the beginning around Firelink Shrine. Just trying to get my strength up to one-hand the Zweihander, as I would like to have a shield though, as I don't really have that much HP to tank hits, and I'm working with relatively no poise at all. So sadly I didn't manage to get enough souls, but I'm only 2 levels behind, and I guess I'll get it soon. Just pop a few more soul items to get them out the way, and we'll be rocking with the Claymore. Kinda like the Claymore for a quality build, but this won't be my normal quality build, to be a strength build, so sadly I don't think I'll use this weapon much. It will be replaced much later with my much more favored strength weapon great sword, which is the Man Serpent great sword, the man sword. Really like that blade. It's quite amazing. And usually I would like to take care of this hollow soldier here before I go up to face the Black Knight on the roof, as sometimes I found that he walks up the stairs if you aggro him, and he could mess up the fight with the Black Knight. Generally, you have to be careful about the preemptive attack. Sadly, I wasn't so aware about it. Not really I wasn't aware, but I was too slow to react, and generally it really messed me up. But you can parry the Black Knight. Actually, the basic rules of parrying are that they must be humanoid. They have to use, of course, a weapon to parry it, and also they must be maybe twice your size or maybe 2.1 times your size, but not more. As I don't think you can actually parry the Taurus Demon, for example, or the Demon Fire Sage, or the Taurus Demon, as they are generally too big to handle. But sadly this time the Black Knight got me as I failed my parry, and generally the seeking on his thrust is good, and I messed it up. I'm sorry about that, but that was just me talking about parries. Now we'll go in for a second round with the Black Knight, and I hope things go better this time. But generally, it's quite interesting, the parry mechanics of the game and how the rules set on what can be parried and what can't be parried. Because think about it in real life. If a man throws a punch at you, surely you can do something to block it. It's understandable, the motion of the thrust or the swing and how to block it. But if a rat jumped at you, what would you do? It's quite obscure. But generally, you just want to get up here and parry him a whole bunch, as trading hits is not really advisable, as he hits like a truck. He hits really hard, and if you don't have enough poise to withstand at least a hit, chances are you'll die, especially if he two-hands it for the uppercut. And you can get some backstabs in, which is always good, and just keep on parrying him and hope you don't mess up like I did in the first time, where I missed my parry and I tried to trade hits to no avail. Maybe if I two-handed it and went for 2 hits, I could have staggered him, I'm not sure, as to the poise break of the Black Knight Iron Set, but I don't think at such a low level it would have been enough. And when you take him out, hopefully you would have had some humanity, and you would have had a better chance of getting the Black Knight Greatsword. Now with this Iron Boar, you just like to run up to the top. It's much simpler. I dare say this is the simplest way of killing this Iron Boar is from up top here, and you'll see why soon. Generally you just want to clear the roof of all these annoyances, these hollow soldiers and crossbow guys. Piece of advice, guys, if you ever find yourself using a crossbow, stop now, because if you're familiar with Demon Souls, and everyone who's played it would tell you that there's no honor in a crossbow, guys. Don't stoop that low. You're worth more than that. Come on, let go of the crossbow. No one likes the crossbow guy. I don't. Maybe you don't. I hope you don't like the crossbow guy. But yeah, generally you just want to get up to the roof and clear it, and you pick up something nice, which are alluring skulls, and these are just used to get enemies out of position to where you drop your skull, and generally set up some stuff. So I like to usually just throw one or two at the fire here, get some fire damage done on the boar, such that my next attack should just kill it in one shot. I don't know if the fire damage is needed. I just do it for fun, just to enjoy the mechanic of the game, I guess. And yeah, sometimes it runs crazy around. It doesn't really know if you throw too many all at once. It gets confused as to what to do next. But yeah, just throw another skull at it and hope it follows. If it does, just run and jump and slash. Should go off in one hit after the fire damage. If your drop rate was high enough, you're actually gonna get its skull, and it's a helmet, really heavy helmet, and I guess physical defenses are quite good. The metal on it is really nice. The design is really cool. I kind of like it with some armor sets, but sadly I didn't get it this time, so I won't be able to showcase the possibilities of what you could have done with the armor set. But yeah, just continuing on with the journey. These draglings here, these hollow draglings, usually they just rely on staggering you in mass. And if you're rocking no poise like me, then they'll just stagger you with like their one-hand attack. And if they back you up in a corner, you won't really have that much fun. But not sadly, fortunately, that didn't happen to me. Just funnel them into the corner or rock some good poise and deal some AoE damage with whatever weapon of your choice is. Just make sure it's got some good AoE to take care of the draglings. Moving on, get some more soul items, of course. As I said, I'm in desperate need of souls and really want to one-hand that Zweihander. I would like to experiment with it in this playthrough. I would like to experiment with some PvP with ultra great swords and some other bigger strength weapons and some small weapons, some dual wielding with curved swords and long swords, of course. As I like the long sword falchion combo, falchion being on the offhand, that is. As of course it can parry, which is always nice, and the left-handed swing is really good. And with Dark Souls 2, there's been some speculation going about saying with the dual wielding, all your offhand weapons seem to swing a bit faster on your offhand, and the falchion is a fast swinging weapon. And well, I'm not saying it's in Dark Souls 2, but you know, to give you much more incentive to offhand a weapon. Besides, of course, they've reworked the mechanics, and dual wielding is much more cooler, much more swifter, and it's more believable, it's more realistic, and it's got its own combos and attacks, which make it much more viable now in Dark Souls 2 than it was in Dark Souls 1. In Dark Souls 1 here, I usually just dual wielded for trying out something new. Sometimes it wasn't viable, sometimes it got me killed, but yeah, it's really something you can invest some time into, as I guess PvP and PvE is all about improving your strategies against the game and against other players, and generally it just makes you a better player knowing more about the game and how the mechanic works. And yeah, that's that's pretty much all I have to say about the dual wielding aspect. Right now I'm just making my way up to the church, the new church, not the old church, and the view is really good. Some guy wrote a message saying beware of a gorgeous view, and I have to agree with him. The view on the fringes of the Moonlight Butterfly Forest really look nice from the upper Hindenburg here, and it really looks good from the church. And yeah, also, I guess we'll see more of the forest in later videos, but I really like the view and how you can see some areas of the game you've been to or going to from certain places in the map. It really gives you the sense of an open world that you can explore. It's open to you. And yeah, you just open up, pull this lever here to open up the shortcut back to the bonfire, and I think from here I'll just like to go level up and see if I can get more stats into this strength of mine, and which would further increase my damage output and hopefully get me that step closer to one-handing the Zweihander. And yeah, it's really good. My take on the ultra great swords, and it's fun when you two-hand it and swing and you stagger someone's poison. It really makes you feel strong. And I don't know, I think that strength weapons in general, as much as they have good damage output on a single swing or riposte or backstab, the reason why I haven't seen most people use them is because of their slow swing speeds, and sometimes they can be easily parried, and people don't really like that, as most PvP players sadly only want, but their main goal is to rack up as many wins as possible with the best strategy they have, and most players really don't want to experiment much with most of the weapons of the game, because I have to agree, some weapons are just not viable in a PvP environment, as to their move sets maybe their movesets are too predictable and the weapon generally doing low damage, which would really put you at a disadvantage. And I would say that such weapons, there's still hope for them, in the sense that, of course, as the user, if you put in more practice, you now understand their weaknesses and you can try mitigate their weaknesses and make them work somehow. As I always think there is, of course, in terms of stats, you might find what you would see in your perspective as the best weapon for your build, or maybe the best dex weapon or the best strength weapon. You may find that in stats, but stats are not everything. It's you as the player, how you handle the weapon and how you understand the mechanic of the game, that will make the weapon's effectiveness really show. And so that's why I advocate trying new things, and trying new weapons. Of course, I will be trying some rarely seen weapons later on in this game, and I hope that you'll give me some feedback as to what you think about weapon choices and armor selections, and poise or no poise. So, for example, I would like, when I'm using my great swords or ultra great swords or clubs or whatever, these big strength weapons, I'll probably like to rock some high poise to mitigate the slow swing speeds. Then I can trade hits, and if I can trade hits, and hopefully my weapons will be, I'll try farm up and upgrade my weapons really well, and hopefully my trading hits would result in a better trade with the opposition. If I get some PvP videos down. I actually did get one video recorded in with like the last cracked red eye orb I have in the stash, but sadly I was ganked. It was a 1 versus 3. I generally stood no chance, as I was tired and I wasn't really prepared to fight 1 versus 3. Maybe I'll upload that video too, and you see what I went through. But generally, yeah, you just do what you want. It's your game. I mean, the developers didn't put such a variety of weapons so that people would only use one of them. No, you use all of them, experiment, and see what the game has to offer. Be careful in this church when you're going up against the Tower Knight, because there's a channeler on the 2nd floor. And the channeler is casting some soul arrows, so you'd like to just lure the Tower Knight out of the church and fight him on the outside, where it's much more clear. You can try parry him, but sadly you cannot riposte him, so I didn't bother trying to parry, as if I messed it up, you wouldn't. It would be something to regret, as I'm rocking low vitality. This is still early levels for me, and yeah, you just want to make sure you bait out the hit. When he misses his swing, you go to town on him, get 1 or 2 hits in, back off, let him hit again, go in, get 2 hits on him. Just don't get too greedy and maybe swing for the 3rd or 4th time, depending on the speed of your weapon, of course. I'm dealing with the battle axe, so I know two swings is enough. If you two-hand it, you can swagger him, which is really good, but sadly I only found that out when he was close to death. And as you can see, these Boulder Knights, as well, they didn't drop, but the Tower Knight dropped a Titanite shard. So this is a really good farming place early game for Titanite shards, as it's close to under the blacksmith, and also it's close to the Filing Shrine bonfire and the Filing Altar bonfire and the bonfire by the blacksmith. So you can really use this place to farm up Titanite shards before you fight the gargoyles. That way you really do some good damage, and you might actually not need to use the Drake sword if you've got, for example, a +5 long sword or a +5 battle axe or something like I'm rocking right now. I'll try upgrade it to like a +5 battle axe, and probably if you could get something, if you still had some gold pine resin left over, you can coat it with that. Summon Soleil, summon another player online to help you, and your damage output should be ridiculous enough that the fight should end fast. But yeah, generally that's all I have to say about this episode. It wasn't my usual commentary, but it was more of a walkthrough of how I play this area when I get here, as I feel that from this area you can branch out pretty much anywhere. Now that you've established yourself like this, and you have some stats, you could go pretty much anywhere you want, except for St. Fortress, of course. But you can go straight to the Moonlight Butterfly and do the boss fight there, and there are many things in the Moonlight Butterfly to do, and you can branch off to the Gargoyles, ring that Bell of Awakening. You could go to Blight Town and ring the other Bell of Awakening at the top of the tower in Blight Town, the church in Blight Town, and yeah, generally you can branch out. Of course, there's a safer way, well, not a safer way, but there's the more traditional way of taking out the Gargoyles first. But yeah, it's really, this is the pivotal moment in the gate of the game, as it defines your character. Usually at this point I now know what I want in my character, as the weaknesses in your build will be immediately shown. As I can see, I don't really have that much strength. I mean, I don't have much vitality, so I need to fix that, and I need higher endurance, as I like to fast roam. And yeah, it really shows you, I mean, how much more stats you want. As you can see here, I was about to get invaded, and I was so excited, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get some recording in on some PvP, and then sadly I slipped and fell. Thank you guys for joining me, and see you on the next Souls Day episode. Goodbye.